You ready to dig into this thing?
Rapid fire, rapid fire. Here we go.
Welcome to this episode of the Prestige-ish Media Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Lake, and with me is someone I've warned 10 times not to wrestle anyone. It's Dan McNair. Dan, how are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm a huge wrestler. I'm doing pretty good, but I have a little trepidation about this mammoth undertaking that we have here. I'm looking forward to it about as much as a hot tub full of puke.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting down to the wire, and as per my prestigious tradition, when we have to cover multiple seasons of television, they will all go up right before, and I believe even in a past episode that I promised, days before the premiere, which is tomorrow. And by the time you listen to this, probably today, or it already happened. We are here, we're going to cover season 2, episodes 4 through 8. It will be a little quicker of a go through than we normally have, and maybe just a little bit of what all of this has been, which is a teaser to get us into the main event, which is season 3. We were first timers, and now we've seen all of the regular episodes. Dan, I think, has even seen the special episodes. No, you haven't seen the special episodes. I thought
I
you
didn't
said
know
you
there
had.
were special episodes. Maybe
Okay,
I
so
have.
so we haven't seen the special episodes, but there were like a couple episodes they released, I think between 1 and 2. So maybe even by tomorrow, maybe I'll catch it up. I've already watched 5 episodes today. What's two more? We're gonna talk about episodes 4 through 8. The first episode was episode 4. It was You Who Cannot See, Think of Those Who Can, or my autocorrect could really for me at any time here. If you got a better title, Dan, let me know.
I got it.
What was your take on this episode? Do you have a rating on it at all?
I gave it a 6.8. And we watch these in a bulk, but over a long period. Normally, when we cover something, it's either an instant reaction or we watch it in quick succession before recording. And so some of these might be a little lost to my memory. So I have to go off the ratings and things like that. I gave it a 6.8. I know that there's like some trans boobs and like a nasty party, and I felt gross.
Yeah, this episode definitely didn't make me feel good. I will say, back half of the season of what we're covering here, one, Cassie's boobs are unbeatable, firstly. So any rating I give is no reflection of that. I think she's obviously made to be a little disheveled and at some points crazy the back half of this. But just as an actress, I think we've talked a lot about Zendaya and Rue. I do think Sydney Sweeney's done a good job playing some very extremes and sometimes even within the same scene. Like, I think she does a really good job here. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. This episode itself is, I did like the nod to Cal Jacobs getting his car back, or like taking his car out of storage or whatever it was. So I think that was a thing that happened. I was not a fan of the Rue, Elliot, Jules triangle. I thought Elliot was very manipulative. Where did you stand? And I thought it was the typical Jules, just anyone who will, I hate to say it, or Rue says it in the next episode, but basically anyone that will give her attention. How did you feel about that triangle? I know we didn't feel great going into it, but I don't imagine any better here.
Yeah, I was hoping that like the breaks and fractures coming out of it might lead these characters in different new directions. I don't know that something like this is necessarily the catalyst for something like that, but it's you're mixing a lot of ingredients here with not a lot of success potentially for a good solution. So, yeah, I just wanted the whole thing to blow up and then hit start over.
We get Lexi's prepping for the play. I don't know if it's here or in the next episode. I'll cover it now, but Lexi has, and we see her over time talking through Fezco about these mixed emotions about this play. And I would just say, like, whenever you're really questioning something you're doing creatively, I feel like oftentimes, like, maybe it's not the best decision. Like, I remember Kirk and I filmed a presidential campaign video for me when I was in 8th grade. And I think this was right around the time MTV Cribs started. And we filmed like the night before. We filmed me playing basketball with my shirt off and me in the hot tub. And I remember when we
Was
spent all
McKay there?
yeah. No, Kirk's shirt was on, thank God. But I was, and to be clear, I was recording it for the ladies. And when I woke up the next morning, I was like, this is not a great idea. But I had felt bad because I made my friend work with me on this project all night. So I felt obligated to air it. But I was like, I should not do this. And I was already going to win class president anyway. It was stupid. Nobody was even doing a video. There was no reason for it to happen. And it was a train wreck. The teachers stopped it almost right away. And then a few of the other teachers who had known me for the year vouched for me for it to continue. And around the time I was in the hot tub, it was eventually stopped. And I still won by a very clean landslide. But I just suffice that to say, I try to use that creatively sometimes, usually when I don't feel great. And there's different reasons why you feel obligated to do something, like you've spent so much time on it, or you've done it with a friend, or you've announced that you're doing it. And while I think the results of this play the experience very positively for Lexi, I think rarely in life would that ever work out. And I just wanted to acknowledge, I wasn't sure if it was here or the next episode, but when she's having these twirling her finger around the phone cord that doesn't exist conversations with him, and he's asking her questions, but is not, I think he's like very fun to listen to, but not the best person to have a real conversation about this with. That's just my instinct when I get there on projects. Any feedback from you on the road Lexi's about to hoe us down?
Of all the different things going on in this show, I think the play idea is the one that I'm the most drawn to. So, train wreck or not, and everything in the show is a train wreck. The potential for that, I'm fine with. I agree with you on Fesco. It seems like he just wants to encourage her. He says things like, the people shouldn't hear things, maybe sometimes they should hear them. And that just
We
meandering
need
gibberish.
It's too late for the premiere tomorrow, but we should have came out with prestigious Fezco fortune cookies with just his various sayings. But yeah, so that's like a thing that we're preparing for. This is a big Cal episode. We got Cal, some might call it Cal's last stand. He goes to the gay bar that he knows his friends for. He plays some more in excess. Now, how closer is NXS to Huey Lewis in the News? Because some of this felt very Huey Lewis in the News to me. Maybe some of that was slipped in. To me, we get what we've seen in this show, which is like the weird dancing scene where he's dancing with this other young gentleman, but he's flashing back to his dead friend. Or we think, did he die? He didn't die, or did he die in a
That's
car
news to
wreck?
me. You just killed
Oh,
him.
I made it up. He just got pregnant. I was expecting him to die, but it turned out that his girlfriend was, pregnant. So anyway, yeah, he keeps imagining his friend. And then I do think that I warned you 10 times not to wrestle anyone was funny. He was a high school wrestler. To bury the lead here a little bit, he gets home, family's home, he starts pissing on the floor. He's hanging dong. I'm not going to get into a big Jessica Z conversation about the realistic nature of his dong, but I will say this. Z will be back tomorrow. So if you're missing her, she's traveling through the Adirondacks all this week. So that's why we've delayed this one. And then ultimately, she and me just being busy. But
So we can't confirm if it was an AI dong.
yeah, but and or if she can even see him. But yeah, some of his key things is he started to say, if I want to bang a guy, a girl, a trans, I eat what I kill. I thought
Bake a
this
pie, eat a pie.
this was the most likable Cal Jacobs I've seen almost. Like, I get he's still a human being for a myriad of reasons, but I always say be who you are. That's my motto.
This is him being who he is, but it definitely doesn't fit the cookie cutter that he's lived a lot of his life as. I mean, he's really breaking down. Like this is bad exit off the highway happening right here.
The worst thing he did was when he played Sinead O'Connor. Like everything else I thought was pretty normal, but that was the most unforgivable offense, I feel like, in this episode.
I didn't like the way he talked to his wife. That was hurtful. And you talk about Jules screwing her with rused emotions. Here's somebody he's built a life with where he's just basically being mean. I'm
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I mean, I just don't think the mom's completely innocent. I don't think she was unaware of maybe this other side of him. She mentions how Maddie would do anything to get Nate pregnant, and I think, or get have Nate get her pregnant, and I think that's because that's exactly what she did. And so
That's her playbook.
I do believe that. Yeah. While I get what you're saying, I also think she's he airs the grievances of her Facebook history and some of the other things and the dumb son's porn history. And yeah, I mean it all is what it is. Once again, this is a character I've hated the whole time. I'm not saying I like this character. I'm just saying him being himself is the most least weird he's been the whole series, I feel like maybe Fezco knocks some sense into him or he's got some CTE. Any other takes on that whole dog and pony show as a whole?
No, yeah, you summed up all the Cal stuff there, so I'm good with that. I didn't necessarily enjoy it though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it moved the story further, which for me, I don't want to keep doing this dance. So in that regard, it was
That's
positive.
fair.
So we have Maddie's birthday, and Cassie ultimately puts on a bathing suit. She ends up in the bathtub or the hot tub. Go
You
ahead.
were talking about like the acting that Sydney Sweeney did here. I'll support you in the fact that like she took this character down a road that to me, we're looking at this through a different lens. She actually looked very unattractive to me. Like you probably only saw a boob,
No, that's why I
but
said, like, I really care about her as a person, but they made her look very disheveled and crazy. And she played all of those emotions. Like, you see her crying over Maddie's birthday and giving her the scrapbook. Like, you see her struggling with the emotions a character like this would have to. But yes, she doesn't look great, I don't think, the back
yeah,
half
like
of the
I thought
season.
this was, I was out on her. I was like, this is just disgusting.
I will never be out on her, but yeah, she looks rough. She's having a rough time, Dan. We all do sometimes. But ultimately, she ends up barfing and saying she's sorry she ruined the party and it's just a catastrophe. Any good barfing experiences from you that you want to share? Do you have a Dan's greatest barf moment?
Not one that I'm proud of, but we were on a camping trip, and this was for like my father-in-law's one of his like landmark birthdays. And we were at some state park way in Northern California. And I famously can drink one brand of beer, but when you start mixing in a Bud Light and a Coors Light and a Miller Light, that's 30 beers in my chemistry. And somebody had some terrible Lagunitas Red Dog type thing. And I got a couple of those mixed in with my normal routine. And so I'm walking around waking up this entire campground of 100 different campsites at 4 in the morning because my stomach will is just basically exercising my demons.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty embarrassing, like the entire side of the family is there. And I wasn't hungover the next day. Like I was perfectly fine, but something in that chemistry, there was no, sometimes there's no quiet way to barf.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and that's what it was in like a pin drop type campsite with all these people I was waking up. Like that was pretty bad.
And it all runs downhill on the mountain. The one I'll share that's, I don't know if it's funny or not, but one, God rest the Tropicana pool's soul. But the last a few years, I think I closed it effectively, but the last year it was open. I had gone there just because it was like a really low maintenance pool. And like I live on the same street. So it's like straight shot for me getting home. And I was with two friends, one of which is one of my favorite friends that I have that of, and
Time Charlie.
Scott Schneider and one of my employees. And so we were drinking and we saw these girls, and I bought like 11 shots for these girls. Like I ordered them. And then I went to the bathroom, and by the time I came back, they had scared away all the girls, and we had 11 or 12 shots to ourselves, and there was no one to really give them to. And so we took all of them. And then I do feel like I did get roofied, possibly, because I ended
Is it
up.
because your good friend was trying to roofie the girls? They bounced.
I think one thing that happened is I was getting vodka waters and I thought they were doubles and they were triples. So that probably didn't help. But I didn't ask for a triple. I just later found out that they were. But suffice to say, I was face down in the Tropicana pool, barfing like Cassie. Both friends left, like me there. And so I definitely could have had something worse happen, but I'm usually pretty good with my alcohol, which is part of the reason I think I was roofied. But yeah, and so they had to blow the whistle and clear the hazmat team in, and I got to make my exit. But yeah, never a good time. I as well, Cassie. I can feel your pain there.
Brutal.
I think that's all I got on this episode. Anything else from you there?
I've got a couple quotes. I don't know that I always marked where exactly in the story it was going, but you were talking about the Elliot Rue Jules thing.
Yeah.
There's also the Rue faking the orgasm,
Yes, that did happen.
and she says the line, "You might as well be going down on my ankle."
Yeah.
So that's an interesting bit of foreplay, but with some of those foot fetish people, there's just no telling. I've got
Where's
the
these
line,
fans when you
"People
need
are
them?
retarded." I think that came from the party. Go ahead.
I think that was Matt. Was it Maddie? And they said, and Kat was saying she couldn't say that anymore or something. But by now we,
Sounds about right.
but
And
by
then
now we can say it again. Go ahead.
I think maybe it was the mom talking to Cal, or I don't know where this is, but could you put your penis away?
Yeah, yeah. Not the first time you've heard that. I can see why that quote jumped out at you. Any others you got from this episode?
No, that pretty much rounds it out. I do like the way that this episode partners with the next episode, though. I thought it was some clever writing, like the connection points.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of this is well written. I just a lot of the camera work good is good. Once again, with different actors, though, I don't know the flies. I will say this does feel we've discussed who is this show for. I
Yeah.
think we halfway settled on perverts, but this really is more soap opera than anything, is my opinion. And I get that more than an HBO drama show, I would call this like a high budget soap opera. How does that hit you?
I mean, I don't know that it has the everybody's gonna die and come back to life. Like, I'd say The Boys is soap opera-y with the will they, won't they, and the dead characters coming back to life and stuff like that.
I
I'd
just
say
the situ
wrestling is soap opera-y.
Yeah, well, I would just say the situations are just like always so extreme, and there's not always a slow narrative to get there. It's just it Jackson Pollocks everywhere as we go through it. Something explodes thing.
I would say the melodrama is on point with a soap opera, but I do appreciate that this show has some artistic swings that I wouldn't expect from a soap opera and some comedic moments that
Yeah, and that's why I'm calling it more of a high budget. Like it's not, I'm just saying more than a typical HBO drama, which is what I thought I was walking into, which maybe what the third season is. This feels a little bit more like that to me so far, but we'll see. Episode 5, Stand Still Like a Hummingbird. You mentioned you liked how it transitioned in this episode. Do you have a rating on this episode?
so it's odd. For me, this was the best and the worst episode that I've seen so far, both at the same time. You'd mentioned how this can be a heavy watch. And there's a lot that happens in this episode that, from an empathetic standpoint, it's hard to witness and hard to not feel because, like, there's a lot of unfortunate stuff that comes forward here. And then at the same time, Like the pacing, the way it shot, like this isn't like any of the other episodes. And the fact that it could make me feel that bad is actually powerful from like an acting and performance standpoint. If I didn't give it, like it wouldn't be that great, but the fact that there's the investment in the characters and it's able to do that for me, like I have to give it some kudos. So overall, I give this episode a 9.
Oh, wow. Is that your highest so far?
Yeah, and it'll probably be the highest this show gets.
Yeah, so I didn't love this episode, but I totally understand what you're saying. So I think just the rude drug stuff for me is just not where I want to be. I did think the scenes with her continuing to escape, for me, the high point was just story-wise, was like the stuff with Cassie finally coming out so we could get that
Well,
to a
I don't know
head.
that she came out. I think she got blown
Well,
up.
Rue blew up everything and then used it as a way to escape. I thought that was fun, but the beginning is Jules and Rue's mom and Elliot all conspire to have this mini intervention with her. But once again, this is more than just them taking the drugs that rooted at the end of the last episode. She has, I forget if the number was $15,000 worth of drugs or what it is that she owes to this person, or she's going to get killed or raped or maimed. And so I wish at some point she would have explained that, because I
I,
do
I,
think,
I felt that way, yes.
and I felt like she was trying to, but didn't. But it's that was really more of the point than anything. I felt like for her, she knew how she was, or her family or people that she cared about would be. And so they played themselves like they thought they were doing the right thing, but this could, and it's ultimately something we don't get resolved this season that I think we're probably going to end up heading into next season quite a bit. But this can't be good that they dumped a suitcase of drugs down the toilet. And who sees, I am the least drug person in the world, but I don't see a suitcase full of drugs and be like, oh, he's doing every one of these. I would have some questions before I just dumped it all out. Your thoughts, Dan?
From a planning standpoint, like this did not seem a well thought out intervention, especially like with the tantrums and violence and locking people in rooms and stuff like that. First off, there isn't a professional there. They're like, we can just do it ourselves. I'm sure she'll go along with the plan, which seems stupid. Also, I have to tell a quick story. For my 40th, my ex-wife threw a giant surprise intervention,
Oh, nice.
invited my mom and dad from Illinois, flew out, and decided we were all going to sit around. And she didn't really want to help me with taking care of my diabetes, so she wanted to force my family to guilt me into doing better when I was pretty much doing everything that I could anyway. She just didn't want to deal with it. So
Yeah.
halfway through, my mom went, "This isn't that issue. This is a U2 issue." So fun. Yay,
Yeah.
40s.
And then you guys played some Bono's music, and it's a U2 problem.
Ah,
There we go.
there it is.
So actually, the part I like the most, and I get that I'm probably not supposed to like it, when she's on Jules, because Jules has just cheated on her, like effectively. She was hiding it, obviously. And Jules is just doing what Jules always does. And she said she loves her. And I think the quote was calling her a greedy whore who just sucks the life out of everyone. And I was glad to see her finally stand up to Jules, because I do feel that a little bit about her. Any thoughts on, obviously, this isn't a good Rue scene overall, but if I'm doing a blame pie, I think Elliot's the worst in all this.
I
Rue
have
is,
him down as my intervention least valuable player.
I think Rue's probably the second, but in life, I dislike Jules more. The mom sucks. The sister's not terrible. She's doing her best. She's not effective, but she's there. Any other thoughts from you on this whole thing?
I thought it was interesting how it plays out because as a viewer, we really don't know what's been going on. And so they start to reveal it bit by bit. The mom is accusing Rue, but you don't know what's going on. Then all of a sudden the suitcase is missing. Then after a really prolonged period of time, oh, Jules is in the next room and she's I told him everything, which was a little bit weird and unbelievable, but like as this gets more and more revealed and like the fossils dusted off and you can see more of the picture. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, Jules in the cut corner jerking it while the intervention takes place.
Might as
Yeah,
well have been jerking her ankle.
so there was a quote from Elliot where he said, I liked Rue the way she was, and this is never my place. This seemed to be like he tricked Jules into banging him the night before and he's over it. I really feel like he just manipulated the whole situation.
He's got some buyer's remorse. He's
Any other
returning the sweater to the Gap the next day.
I feel like he did. What else is that? What the is that comment after you instigated all of this? So she escapes a little unbelievable, like all the various escapes, while it was fun and cinematic. And I still don't totally get the limp thing. Maybe an addict would get it more. We first saw it in the New Year's episode when she took what I thought took the meth and maybe had shot it in her leg, and that's why she was limping. But I don't, do we have a real reason why she limps when she's running all the time? Is this just a Zendaya thing? Is this
No,
a Forrest
I don't
Gump
have it
thing?
marked. I thought there was a fall of some sort somewhere. It could have even been in season one for all I
Well,
know.
she had 80 falls in this episode, but she was like limping from the beginning, I feel like.
It was a pretty prolonged chase. Did you have any favorite moments of the chase?
One, just obviously the Maddie moment at the house and that them ending up at that house and then her escaping, but just the chaos of that house. And it was around that time that I realized that I hit you in the group text, but Cassie's mom is the mom from Ted because that's made a lot of TikToks going around. She was in Last of Us season 2, which I was unaware of. And I think one other thing in our prestige-ish universe. So that was just interesting, like how like long it took me to understand what she was in. Oh, she's Danny DeVito's whore and Always Sunny, and he's gonna propose to her. And that's a wild acting job. I think it could be worth a watch just to see how she plays that. But anyway, yeah, she is a good actor. I feel like she does a better job in season 2 of showing more personality. Like I feel like in season 1, she was just more the drunk in the background, and this season they let her use her acting chops a little bit more. But yeah, and I just like overall that Rue got away. And I will say one more thing. It was a little like the True Detectives season 1 scene that you like, or it wasn't all one long cut, but it's one of those good
There,
produced action
there's a
sequences.
lot of fences that are easy to jump over in this area.
While she's limping, but continue.
One of my favorite Zooks is when she climbs in the garbage can
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
like Oscar the Grouches, the cops.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that was a slick move. When you're talking about the mom at the party, and some of this bleeds into the previous episode, when you were in high school, was there a parent that would throw parties with alcohol that all the kids would come to? Maybe this is a Southern California thing, maybe this is a
I mean,
generational
I
thing,
mean,
maybe it's just a fictional thing.
I didn't really drink a lot or do a lot in my high school days, and frankly, didn't go a lot to high school. But as you well know, as someone that hired me as a bludgeoning, burgeoning junior. But yeah, for those that want the prestigious lore, I quit school so Dan would give me a full-time, part-time job at a video game store.
Benefits.
So yeah, great life choices were made. But yeah, I do remember in Missouri one time, I just remember like one of my friends taking me to some guy's house and I didn't believe it because I was like in my head, it didn't seem like a believable situation, but he was just like, oh yeah, he's cool if we use his house and we could drink or do drugs or do anything, not drugs like weed or something, because he smoked weed. But I don't even think I did anything. If I did, I might have had a beer, maybe, but I don't even remember that. And we didn't have anybody over. Like, all we did is listen to Tupac or something. Nothing really happened, but that's as close as I came. And like now I'm like, oh, that guy probably just let him. But at the time, I was like, not really believing that it was okay for me to be doing anything anywhere. But what about
So for me,
you?
it was always like an older brother or an older sister of a friend
Yeah.
that was buying and having a party, but the parents were all pretty much lockstep, like not trying to vicariously be part of the group. There might have been some like parents' weekends at college when they would go to the parties and get wild, but not in high school.
I feel like anytime I had alcohol before I was 21, it was because my family gave it to me.
You weren't a really big drinker for a long time.
It's still not, but I mean, I'll drink, but it's just not, I drink to go out or whatever, but I don't really ever drink at home unless I have a lady over, which hasn't happened in a few years. Continue.
So like it was set up so perfectly, I thought, from the previous episode. You're at the aftermath of this party. Like the puke has happened, and then Rue runs in right away. So Time Lord in me was kind of like, oh wait, so this is like right on top of the last episode because everybody's still there. They're all in their same clothes. Cassie's still reeling. And the way that Rue like is such a junkie and she's just willing to throw up any sort of deflection smoke screen, drops this on the whole group. Maddie totally takes the bait. And it's not, hey, wait, this is about your drug thing. Then she just makes it all about her. Like I thought with the different personalities and motivations, like it all checked out. It was like a perfect firestorm, the way that like this grenade dropped right in the middle of this place.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'll cover it here because she's like the fridge guarding the snacks, but not a good season for Kat at all. Like her less this season than I did last season. And yeah, the only other thing I'll say is I think expertly written, I both like and dislike how shows do this, but they put the scene where Rue saw them get out of the car in the pre-episode like
Yeah, so you know
previously.
it's gonna play in.
But without that, it was such a casual thing that I very much noted at the time. But that's really good writing, especially when you don't remind everybody about it beforehand. And that's where I will say, like, some of the ways that the show revisit some scenes, so many scenes in different angles later on, and later on we get age changes, and some of it's in episode and out of episode, but we've had some of these age changes before. I thought more in the previous season, but the fact even they're able to age down some of these actresses as they've gotten older is wild to me. And so yeah, there's a lot of good things going on. Congresswoman Welsh, I thought this was a good episode for her, but also very spooky, the situation that Rue finds herself in.
I had some anxiety about her going to Lori. We know this suitcase full of drugs is hanging out there somewhere. And it's not like Rue is really hurting to turn up here in this moment. And like it could have really been the end for her right then and there if it was a different drug empress.
I don't know what the intent was there because it didn't look like the intent was good by giving her that heroin. And it seemed like she was stuck in that place and was supposed to be being watched. I don't think the intent was maybe to let her go. So, yeah, I'm not sure really what we're dealing with here. But when she shot her up with that morphine, I thought that was just a way to hook her in more. I think the last thing she says is, I knew you were somebody that would be in my life for a long time, or I thought you would, which either means two things, like she's going to kill her or she wants to get her hooks into her
Yeah, she's
more.
yeah.
So that's
Um,
what I saw
I,
happening there.
I didn't think it was necessarily going to be a kidnapping situation or anything like that because if you're a big drug dealer, the last thing you need is like people knocking on your door looking for a missing person. So I thought I took a weird level of sincerity about this nefarious character that she was going to try and help her out. And the way that Rue
Well,
bounced and jumped out the window, like
one
that was wild too.
one of the last like quotes from her also as well, it's like it's a good thing you have a woman, like you'll always be able to sell that. I don't know. Like I think that is why this character is so disturbing, because she comes across so disarming, but obviously there's something wrong here, like very much amiss, I feel like. But your love
That's
for
fair.
Congressman Welsh just pulls the wool over your eyes, I tell you.
It could be
Not,
she's
not,
a drug
not
dealer with a heart of gold.
not the first time a politician's tricked you. So, episode 6, A Thousand Little Trees of Blood. Do you have a rating on this one?
Okay, so I have just about nothing on this episode. I don't know why. I gave it a 7.9, and my only note is aftermath.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've got this around a 7.5. I think it was one of my I think I liked it a little bit. We've got Rue with withdrawals. She apologizes to Ali. Ali comes over and he's gonna cook. I thought that was pretty impactful, like seeing.
You were skeptical on Ali originally. I
Yeah,
imagine he's won you over a little bit by now.
I think so. I mean, I think he's still trying to bang the mom. The mom definitely put her hair down for the first time in ever. So
I thought
yeah,
it was a wig.
So, yeah, I think we'll see what happens. I mean, I think there are positives to him, but he's still a character that I don't have a total handle on. Maddie, we know, still has the CD. This is where we get the Ethan and Kat breakup where she like gaslights him into breaking up with her.
Yeah, but credit to him because every gaslight move she makes, he returns serves right back to her. No, I think you're just doing this because you don't want to face it. Like she's pretty clever with this. We saw it with the principal in the first season, how she'll try and put words in your mouth and play the victim, but he holds his ground really well in that conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I did want to say this shouldn't be funny, but I found it very funny. We get the hiding of the knives in the house. The mom wants Lexi to hide all the knives. And we later find Cassie trying to kill herself with a corkscrew. And I infamously broke up with a girlfriend once that tried to cut herself with a protractor, like even the wrong way. And this
Wait, a protractor or a compass?
compass, then I get the two
Okay.
confused. Yeah. But
I'm just sawing this plastic
yeah,
half circle.
I mean, probably equally as effective, but I remember because she was also, it's hard to say that somebody's not going to do something like this, but I think even when you look at Cassie, like how ridiculous that was, it was a similar situation playing out. And I may have told her she needed to go with the vein if she was going to have any success with that compass. But ultimately, both girls never did it. So, yeah, I thought that was, I mean, I almost think it's intentionally funny. I can't really tell, but it's funny. Like she's got a corkscrew, and the mom is. I told you to hide the knives. Did you have any comment overall on that?
It didn't seem that Lexi really hit him that well in the hedges. I mean, you are going to need those knives later, but they're also like in like a bright blue pot or something like that. Like they didn't blend in with the foliage.
And I do think Lexi becomes, and like you can look at it two ways, and I can look at it three ways. I think as the actress, she's doing a good job of coming into her own as a character. So that is true. Lexi herself, like, I don't love all of her motivations. Once again, you're higher on this play than I am. I think it's one thing to use media to go through personal experiences that you yourself have had. It's another thing to put other people's personal experiences on blast. Like if they directly affected you, I'm more open to that. But I have more of a creative issue with that. And obviously, we're talking about something philosophical because this isn't a real play. But I have my issues there, and I'm going to defend
It
my
did.
girl Cassie.
There
Go
is
ahead.
like a naive quality where I'm willing to give her a lot of grace in this. It's not like she has a lot of experience in sharing things publicly, but you'd also think that the kids of this place and time are a lot more savvy with what you share and who you blow up.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say like that the intent to do harm is there, but once again, my favorite quote of the year, one may not intend to do harm to do harm. Sometimes not thinking about it is what causes the problem. But yeah, so I just think like she's tired of Cassie and we see her like she's half-assed going through the knife routine. She's just over all of it with Cassie when Cassie's obviously going through something, and you could compare seriousnesses of the issues, but it's if you compare the way Gia reacts to her sister who's doing way worse, and like Lexi is just so over her sister for minutia, which could go both ways. I do think one of the funnier things was when her mom was so sick of everything because she just wanted to watch Millionaire Matchmaker. Dan, have you watched Millionaire Matchmaker? Could you relate to that? Any takes on that?
I didn't know if that was a real show or not.
Yeah, I
So
assumed it was, but who knows? Anything else there as far as that goes?
I have that one note, Aftermath.
Okay, so we do end up with Nate and his mom. It's very awkward. At one point, I'm like, is Nate gonna bang his mom? Like, he's so happy to get his dad out of the house. But then his mom starts needling him on his, and that's never good with Nate. And like, the thing where Nate tries to say that he didn't choke Maddie, and like, we just see his mom's clocking everything, but it's not going well. I thought those were interesting scenes. What did you make of that?
I actually thought this wound up being a very pivotal scene for how it sets up Nate later in the episode. Universally, we all agree that Nate's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's a bad character. But he blames his dad for this, and he doesn't remember anything seemingly before he found his dad's porn stash.
Yes.
And the mom reveals to him, "What happened to my sweet boy? You weren't always this way. Do you remember when you used to bring me the water to my nightstand when you were 7 years old?" And that awakening in Nate, I think, is a small shift because he's been convinced that he's terrible and he blames his dad. And it's like when you're in the snow globe, you don't know what's outside, but the mom gives him this perspective that's, yeah, you're a piece of shit now, but you haven't always been, and that doesn't mean that you always have to be. And I think that's like news to him.
Yeah, but it's like a murderer blaming his childhood. It's yes, both things can be true, but you still are for how you reacted to what happened. Like you
Yeah,
could,
that's not the issue. The issue is that, like, in his own self-perception, he's never known a version of him that wasn't this piece of. And so, knowing it almost seems like it's inevitable that this is who he has to be. And so this like glimmer that like maybe there was something different, some different possibilities, I think allow him some bandwidth to not have to self-actualize all of this stuff because he wasn't aware of it.
yeah, I think that's an interesting take. As someone that can't forget most things, probably tougher for me to put myself in that position. And so with that, like I just don't have as much grace for those being
Yeah, I'm not really
excuses.
giving it grace, but I'm giving it a different perspective that
Yeah.
he's never
And
been
no,
aware of.
and that's fair. And I think you're fair to do that. And I like having your perspective. Just from my side, and this is terrible. Like, if I found my dad's porn stash at 11, I would feel guilty that I uncovered it. Like, I would feel like I was a piece of I wouldn't even think to blame my dad. And I certainly wouldn't watch and take notes on all the videos. Like he's got a play-by-play. He's got scripts written out for crying out loud. But no, I think you bring up fair points, and it's
Well, and
all
when
a
you
fair
see later in the
conversation.
episode, I'm so convinced Nate's evil that the way that things transpire, I'm kind of like, okay, he can't be honest with this. But then when you work in this wrinkle, it's okay, maybe.
Yeah, so my next note is Nate has a gun. I did think there was some interesting moments with Lexi and Fez and the Stand By Me, and I don't know if you appreciated that reference or not, and her having affinity for that. And then we get this dynamic with Faye and Ashtray and General Custard. And the one note I have here is I think at a point Faye seemed like she was upset that he was with Lexi. I think Faye likes Fezco. Did you catch that read, or did you miss that? Or because ultimately she ends up ratting out her ex boyfriend or boyfriend for Fezco. I think that there was a level of care there.
I don't know if it's like a sexual attraction or if it's a loyalty where Faye seems to be the type of person that whoever is taking care of her, she's honest to. And it was Custer, but now it's Fesco that's giving her a place to stay and keeping her safe.
And
Um,
Pokemon shirts. I would, you don't have to, but I'd just say if you rewatch the scene where she's going to take out the trash and he's on the couch with her, I think there's more than nothing there. It was just enough of a disgusted, like I know when I've upset girls, has happened many times. I've seen it before. And so that was
you
just
knew that look.
that was my read on it. And so so we find about that the cops are looking into the mouse thing, so that's not going to end well. But Nate is waiting at Maddie's with his gun. We get several rounds of Russian roulette. This is a wild and crazy guy, you say. This was obviously very uncomfortable. Any thoughts on this?
I didn't like it. Super unhealthy, super uncomfortable. But I mean, can you say no harm, no foul? No
I
emotional harm?
I don't think it's a no harm, no foul situation, but I think you can say like it's because she has the disc, it's a flagrant one, and you don't throw him out of the game, but it's definitely a flagrant foul. But like she could have admitted to having the disc, she never should have had the disc in the first place. We really don't know what her intent was with the disc. But ultimately, one, he said he already knows because he's embarrassed her that he can't have her back. And then two, though, like after his little game of Russian roulette, he starts to like it was just a joke to try to do that whole thing again, which I thought was pretty funny. And thank God she didn't go for it. Feel bad for Maddie in some ways. In other ways, obviously, she's not a great character ever, but you never want to see something like this. But was maybe happy that this is what she needed to ultimately let this situation go. Maybe. Anything else from you there?
No, I think I don't like the way Nate did it. I'm not even sure if there were bullets in the gun or not, but emotionally, that's just like an absolute terrible thing to do to a person. But
Yeah, and it's
ultimately, he gets the disc.
yes, and it's hard to imagine why he was like the visceral reactions he was giving didn't give the reactions of somebody that didn't have a bullet in the gun, but maybe he's just that good of an actor, like acting that he's acting in real life. I don't know. He ultimately gives the disc to Jules. Do you think this was like his last attempt to get Jules back? And then he's like, all right, Maddie, Jules, Cassie's left. Jules infamously gets into the truck with a box cutter. We get an exchange that everything they said was true. And then he goes and picks up Cassie. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, initially I thought this might be a play for Jules, but then when I started to replay the conversation with mom, that's how I arrived at. And he even says during that interaction, "No, I'm not a good person. Like I'm a terrible person." So, like he's aware of it. It seems like there's a big but hanging out here. But I want to do this. You take ownership of it. I think this is him trying to bury this issue, or at least one of the things that he does to try and bury it.
He's won you over. Let's just say it. You're a Nate guy now.
Not a Nate
I'm
guy.
just giving you a hard time. All right, episode 7. I think it's the theater and it's double. Is that what this is?
Yeah, I look at these last two episodes almost as the same episode.
Yeah, and they do it to be continued. So I think that's a fair conversation. If you want to rate them as 2, that's fine. What do you got here?
It's interesting. I have them as 7-7 and 7-5.
I thought the second
Um,
one was better.
when I think back on it, though, I actually enjoyed these episodes, even though the ratings are lower. So as we hash it out, maybe some things will come forth. But I thought it was a pretty neat device. Ultimately, I like Lexi. It was uncomfortable in the Euphoria way, but there was a lot of the Lexi humor, I think, in the play that won me over there.
Yeah, I'll give them 7.5s. I mean, they were well done. I will say though, is this a cheap device to get to 8 episodes? Budget wise, what happened here? Is this, I'm just throwing the question out there. Did they spend it all on Rue running through the streets of LA? Because it's not a clip show, but it's almost a clip show. but you do get other moments, and so I don't want to say it's not well done, but I would be remiss not to at least bring up that question. I think we get Lexi at Rue's dad's funeral. We get the poem, which is "Let This Darkness Be a Bell Tower." Was that one you were familiar with?
No, I don't know that one.
Were you familiar with the C.S. Lewis poem?
No, didn't know that one either. I
No,
don't go
I'm
to a
not,
lot of funerals. I don't hang out there picking up chicks like you, Craig.
not a big poetry guy. I was like, does C.S. Lewis just have a poetry book? Can I get it? Do I need to read it? I was curious. So as the play goes on, we see that it's the play, like they flip between the play and the real things that were or have or did or going to happen, which I think it's done as well as it can be done. I will say when they brought out the extras, it definitely was like a little Only Murderers with the movie extras and stuff like that. It was just, it was on enough, but at some points ridiculous. What did you make of the extras in the play?
And even that their character names are all like one letter off.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you're not fooling anybody. So when you talk about like previously, will people be affected by this? At least change the names and the looks up a
Well,
little.
and she called it Your Life. Like this was not disguised. Like there was no art in this. All she was doing was recreating her high school life with.
So it was funny. It's felt a little bit self-flatulate. Like in a normal world, nobody really gives a shit about your life, so nobody's gonna
Well, I
a high
think you.
school play. And the budget for the high school play,
Yeah, the only thing I'll say there is so I went like to a community theater event in Orlando, but because all of the people there are like want to be actors or like characters in Disney World or Universal, like it was a lot higher budget than it should have been for a community theater play. I still think this is too high budget for that, but I'm giving it the minimal amount of grace and that it's Southern California.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, you're Hollywood adjacent. Maybe the budget at this school, a lot of kids think that they're going to get into the industry.
It
I
did
am
look
in
like
Northern California and I
yeah.
have a child that does a lot of
Yeah.
community theater.
Yeah.
Nowhere near what they were working with there.
And I'm pretty sure
So,
I went to a community theater event in a St. Louis basement somewhere and was equally not impressive.
whole different shot. So, while we're talking about just the glaring similarities and things like that, at one point, and I'm assuming it's in episode 7, Maddie says, "Wait, is this about us or
Yeah, she's is this about us, I think, and I think it's
yeah?"
7.
And according to my middle daughter, that was a whole trend.
Yeah, that I mean, when I think of like the clips that I've seen on this show prior to this, they're mostly Sydney Sweeney related, but I did see that clip with Maddie. But it's like this the Sydney Sweeney scene we get in the bathroom in this episode, I think. The Maddie Sydney Sweeney fight at their house during Maddie's birthday party, the bathroom scene, and the throw up scene. I think those are my greatest hits of I'm in that algorithm, but I did catch this one once or twice.
Yeah, and apparently they'll steal that audio and use it in a lot of other facets
Okay.
and things like that. So I'm just finally catching up with the teenage kids these days.
That's good. I like it. So, yeah, it's our life. To me, the funniest thing about this whole thing was they show her the first time doing weed and they color her face like Bob Ross while she's passed out, Fezco and Rue. And I assume that's the impetus to the costume later. Two, one question that I have is did she ever, like, when she's under the street lamp and they're talking, did she go home not knowing that she had the beard on her face? Because that makes it a little bit funnier. And we realize that Fezco isn't there and the beginning of what's going to happen the next episode with Fezco and Ashtray and all that stuff. Any other takes on 7 as a whole?
Just that, like, the our life, they've got the words and the letters and the whole thing. For a minute there, I thought that was an anagram of Euphoria because there's a lot of the
Oh,
same
okay.
letters, but there's no L in Euphoria. But
That
it's
would
a
have been
pretty
cool.
close comp.
Yeah, and I think around the beginning they go into that. Euphoria title card, I think, at the bottom, maybe, but I'm not sure when that takes place, but it's like on the stage. Because I think at one point I was like, wait, is she calling the play Euphoria? But it was just like the title card. So season 2, episode 8, I'm just also giving a 7.5, and you're giving a 7.52 as well, correct?
Yeah.
Maso Manos. The title is All My Life, My Heart Has Yearned for a Thing I Cannot Name. So I feel like it's the beginning of this that all hell breaks loose. I think at the end of the last episode was like the gay I need a hero scene. Didn't imagine that was going to go well with Nate. And he basically breaks up with Cassie on his way out the door. So Cassie at the end of the last episode, like basically is coming to the door, like breathing hot fog on the window. And once again, to the point of,
He's like one of the gremlins ready to like fog up the movie theater and come in and slaughter.
sexy gremlin, I tell you. But she comes on stage, and I would think it would be very difficult to navigate something like this, but she does a pretty good job of just chopping everyone down. Like we've seen her so disheveled, but like it is nice or interesting to see her backbone up as well. And she, I think, siblings fight, I would have rather seen almost them tussle than her attack her own character. Like her sister putting in the carousel scene is insane. If she hadn't walked in when she did, she certainly had every right to beat everyone's ass at that point. I think that was a step too far. But it's just really how this play affected her. I think she was taking it like a champ until it, when her mind ruined her relationship. What did you make? Like, I thought, and we didn't mention before, but Suze just thinks the whole thing is so funny to see herself portrayed on screen or on
I thought the
play.
mom cackling from the
Yeah.
audience, that was great. And I actually thought Ethan on stage, like I didn't realize it was him the first time we see him, I think. But through the whole gay musical and playing the mom and stuff, like that kid's got some chops.
No, he wasn't Nate, right? Or was he Nate too with the scar?
I don't know who, if anybody was specifically Nate. I just thought it was all
Yeah,
gay.
no, Nate was the centerpiece, and he had the Harry Potter scar because of
Okay.
the drug guy, the fight. And Nate, actually, you can still see a scar from this episode on, but it was very Harry Potter-ish.
And just as like everybody in the audience, I'm like, how are they going to react to this? Rue is in like a semi-clean, fragile state, and she's being portrayed. Jules keeps looking over at her like, how's this going to go? Maddie is a third rail constantly.
I thought if anything, maybe it would give. I feel like Jules knows some of Rue's issues, but I don't feel like she really knows. Like this did have to give her a different perspective of like why Rue uses drugs. I don't know how you couldn't have a different perspective of her. So yeah, and Sue's playing it off as everything goes to hell, and she's, this is all part of the show. My baby's a genius. Was just hilarious. Go ahead.
When Cassie gets on stage, I thought you were in the audience because there's one dude that calls out, "Show us your boob."
Yeah, that I could have been there. You never know. I definitely would have consoled her after these terrible events. So, it did not surprise me that Ashtray knifed this guy. Did it surprise you?
No, he was lovable and fun, and he's been more and more unhinged.
Like since he killed Mouse, like nothing surprises me. He's just like a wild card.
Yeah, and like you feel bad for Fesco because he's got an obligation here, but he's gonna go down with the kid.
Yeah, and his goal was to take the fall. We do get Faye drops the glass and tries to warn him, and it all goes to hell. I was glad to see Custard killed. Obviously, sucks that the you could look at it two ways, but Ashtray went down shooting. You can say that for him, but he also shot Fezca, so that sucked. And it almost looked like Faye was maybe just happy Custard was dead, maybe. But it was all, that was all pretty crazy. He's got this bloody note left for Lexi. His intent was to be at the play, but he obviously wasn't there. Any broad strokes on that?
I mentioned in the previous or two podcasts ago, technically, I like both these characters. I don't like them together, but you do feel the tension the whole way through as Lexi's looking out into the audience. She saved him a great seat. He's a no-show, and he's got to deal with this other situation, the travails of dealing with a drug dealer.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's nice to see her and him get connection with someone, but definitely you'd like to see better for her, certainly. And it's not that we think negatively of Fezco. It's just obviously his lifestyle is something that is not going to be good for her, realistically, whatever his intents of getting on the farm are. So we end up with Nate confronting his dad at a broken down construction project with various men and trans folk.
Is in the house.
And yeah, Jessica Z had to have loved it. And he's got the gun, he loads the bullets, but he ultimately turns his dad into the police. I didn't really like the gun as a red herring with no payoff. Like, either I didn't think he was necessarily going to shoot his dad. I thought he might give his dad the gun to shoot himself with, what I mean, rather than being taken with the cops. Like, I didn't know where it was going, but ultimately, like I said, it ended up being a red herring. Your thoughts on all of that going down? And this is where the reveal happens that he found his dad's video stash when he was like 11 and he doesn't remember much before that, which his mom had said he started getting dark at 9. So it's thank God he was at least 11 before he saw that fest. But what do you got here?
Again, Nate, still a piece of shit, but also as we're going through these entire seasons, like you guys have told me, like this actor doesn't make it, this actor doesn't make it. And actually ahead of time, like the way they set things up doesn't feel hopeless for the show. The where we get to at the end of season 2.
Yeah, I wanted to say a few things. So, and what Dan specifically referring to is not in show that these people died, but in real life, Fezco's actor passed away, and then Cal Jacobs'
Kel.
actor just recently passed away, and so assumingly he was available for this last season. But I was gonna say the way this episode ended, it goes out like a show that thinks it's getting another season and getting another season sooner than what we got it. And there's a lot of stories on the will they, won't they, was the season ever going to be able to be like, I think the intent was to create a season this whole time, but getting everyone together and the writer strikes and everything going on and the money involved with Zendaya and Sydney Sweeney being two of the biggest actresses in the world, realistically, which is pretty amazing to see come out of that show. Because when we have compared some of the other shows, while it has bred a lot of hotties, Topanga, Tiffany Amber Thiessen, I don't know who was in Degrassi, but Shannon Doherty, none of these guys really hit all-time status.
Go ahead and say Selena Gomez. You can round out your cart.
She's pretty up there too, though. But no, I mean, there's no question. Like the circles, Zendaya and Sydney Sweeney have got to be some of the largest circles in the world. Like they make real box office money. Like it's a different stratosphere, and so pretty amazing that they came out of a show like this. Not that Zendaya wasn't doing other work before, but I think this really put Sydney Sweeney on the map. So anyway, I say all that to say, if I would have been watching this in real time and had to wait till tomorrow to see it, I would have been pissed. But the fact that I just finished it today and we'll continue this story tomorrow feels a lot better. Really, all we had at the end that I did think was like a nice bookend for a show, even if it didn't get any more action, was I thought we got way too much of Rue's death monologue with her dad. I'm just like, does this ever end, like her eulogy? But they were like lynching different scenes off of it, but it was never ending eulogy. But I thought just the moment with her and Lexi at the end meeting up and together, it seemed like they took something that was like after the play and put it in the play, but I digress with that. But it was just nice to see. I thought them coming together was nice. I think them as friends is positive, and the whole play was about how friends grow apart, but seeing them come together in the end to me was rewarding, albeit as a finale, maybe not so rewarding. Go ahead.
What do you make of, okay, all of a sudden all the girls are up on stage, they interrupt the performance, and it becomes like Maddie chasing Cassie and a huge fight. They start running through the school. She smashes her head into a wall. That was a little ape right there.
That's not shocking with it being Maddie. I think the only shocking is that it ever ended. And you can't help to feel bad for Cassie. Like when she says that'll be the first of many, is like she wades into these Nate waters, albeit he's a changed man in your mind. But we've seen a very abusive relationship. And I will agree, what does that look like without Maddie being Maddie too? Because she certainly doesn't help not detonate the situation. But there's a part of me that sees what he's doing is almost doing what his mom wants him to do by bringing Cassie home. And that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly the issue almost that his dad had, is like when he just had to do what his mom wanted because they had that other kid. And so I kind of wonder where that will go. But I've only seen the first trailer for the show because I didn't want to watch any more trailers. I hope we don't get a lot of Nate. He doesn't do a lot for me. Do you have any
But without, I don't
expectations?
know who the antagonist is.
I mean, I think Congresswoman Welsh has got to have a big role to play this next season as the antagonist.
The other thing that's weird is like these first two seasons take place within the same school year.
Yeah,
It's 8 months of story. And how many years have passed since any of this aired? I don't know. But the child actors have grown, and none of them are children. None of them were to
clearly.
begin with.
Of course. Yes. None of them are.
So there's got to be a time jump that seems weird. And the other thing that I want to say that I thought was funny is there's the one friend in the group that we don't even know her name. And
Yeah.
as the fight scene's going on, she's just like cheering on Maddie to kick Cassie's ass. She's
Yeah.
your boyfriend.
I
Kick
mean,
her
I
ass.
love it because it's Cassie, but she's always funny in that she shows up out of nowhere with just a few like quippy lines and then you never see her again.
Underrated. Whoever you are.
Yeah, we'll have to clean that up for next episode. But yeah, I mean, I think overall I mean, my only my biggest complaint about the seasons is they're just thick. Like the material is just,
It's
it's like
heavy.
it's like eating too much fudge or something. It's just a thick watch. And I notoriously, unlike you, I'm better at binging, and you like to watch an episode and let it simmer and watch it. This is definitely like I'm happy to get one episode a week because watching several at a time is just it's it felt like a chore, and I don't dislike this show that much, but it had me dreading having to watch multiple episodes at a time. So I'm glad to get to real time with everybody else. We know what's going on with Euphoria. We know the memes, we know the TikTok references now. And Dan's hip, he's with it, and we're ready to tucka our way into season 3. Any closing parting shots from you?
No, I'll save it all until tomorrow when we start another brand new season here at Prestigious.